Now joining us, Congressman Alan Grayson from the great state of Florida. Congressman Grayson, welcome back to the Young Turks.
Good. Are you showing my picture?
Yeah, we are right now.
Okay, because people often tell me that I look better on the radio than I do in person.
Well, you're on the web, too. We're making you famous.
All right.
Although I think you accomplished that already. There's a lot of topics to cover. Let me start with what's pressing today, which is financial reform. Surprisingly, your House is more conservative and are weakening, apparently, the financial reform bill that the Senate has, which is tougher. Are you surprised by that? Are you disappointed by that? What's your thoughts?
I'm not so sure that that's a fair characterization. There's basically the let's do the right thing party and the on the take party. And unfortunately, certain members of my party have been recruited to the on the take party. I'm not going to be too specific about that.
I hear you.
But I don't think it's a function of the House versus the Senate or something like that. It's basically a function of who's trying to think through what we need to do to avoid another economic disaster versus who is doing what the lobbyists are asking them to do.
Well,
and I think that there is a giant 179 member block that is on the take, but I can say honestly that they're not the only ones.
How many members are on the take block?
Well, the Republicans by themselves are 179 members.
Oh, I see.
And they vote as a group.
Well, that's part of the problem of what's happening in conference, because all the Republicans will vote with the banks on every single issue. So if they just put one or two Democrats, then they're free to go on all these different amendments. But let's get specific here, because
it's bizarre to me. I mean, I don't understand how anybody could have lived through the experience that we lived through a couple of years ago and think that we should deregulate the banks. But in fact, that's exactly what the across-the-board Republican position is. They don't want any regulation. The only law they want is the law of the jungle.
But I want to put you in a slightly difficult spot, because Barney Frank, who is leading the House side, who's a Democrat, appears to be trying to weaken or get rid of the derivatives legislation that's in the Senate, which is strong and progressive, and I imagine you're in favor of. How do you deal with that?
What makes you say that Barney's the one who's responsible for that? I'm a little bit surprised to hear you say that.
Well, that's been all the reporting. I mean, all the reports could be wrong, but they're saying that Barney Frank is the one who's... Barney Frank also fought Al Franken on his rating agency amendment, which was terrific, and wound up having it removed.
I think in that case it was a function of the idea being a little bit too new. But I can tell you honestly that Barney doesn't even talk to lobbyists. He is really immune to their influence. The staff may not be immune to their influence. Many of the staff actually are former lobbyists. But any question that comes to Barney Frank usually gets answered on the merits and without any sort of hidden agenda, particularly not one to placate the lobbyists. Barney may have a reason to be against these principles in the Senate bill for good reasons that I'm not aware of, but I don't think anybody can say that Barney is basically doing the big bank's dirty work for them. That's not the way he operates.
Well, I'm just going to have to respectfully disagree on that, because the proof is in the pudding. I mean, the results so far have not been positive in this little exchange, if you ask me. But, you mentioned something interesting there. You said his staff might be different. What's the dynamic there? Why is the staff so important?
Well, it's a huge bill. These things take on a momentum of their own because everybody wants their own little provision in them, so they end up being hundreds and sometimes thousands of pages long. The staff controls the drafting process, and no member, even a chairman, can micromanage a 1,000-page bill. So the result of that is that Barney gives certain instructions to the staff gives certain instructions to legislative counsel. The lobbyists talk incessantly to all the people involved, even though Barney doesn't generally talk to them. And the result of that is that they have sometimes an undue influence over the product. I think that the lobbyists, knowing that the distaste that Barney has for anything having to do with them, understand that they often have to work through the staff to get their business done.
That's very interesting. Now, I want to move on to your bill, because that's also very interesting. And it's about the Afghanistan war. It's called the Wars Making You Poor Act first, let's get if you can quickly explain to us what it does specifically.
Yeah, this bill, H.R. 5353, the Wars Making You Poor Act, is a bill that acknowledges the fact the president has asked for $549 billion in next year's budget, the budget that starts this October, just a few months from now, for our military. That's the defense budget. And in addition to that, another $159 billion for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, in my opinion, $549 billion is enough. That's roughly as much as all the other countries in the world combined spend on their military. And I think that if the president wants to have 2 wars, 3 wars, 4 wars, however many wars he wants to have, $549 billion should be enough to pursue those wars, particularly at a time when we literally have people losing their health coverage, their unemployment insurance, losing their homes. You know, we have roughly 50 people a day in Orlando that I represent losing their homes. I wonder exactly why we would need more than $549 billion for our so-called defense. So what the bill does is it takes the extra $159 billion and it eliminates federal income taxes on everyone's first $35,000 of income. Now, we had the powers that be score that, tell us what that would cost. It turns out that that costs $144 billion. So if you simply eliminate the extra war funding, just the part that's in the budget for the wars in addition to the defense budget, you could eliminate taxation on everybody's first $35,000 of income and also reduce the federal deficit by $15 billion. That's what that bill does.
And if you're a couple, you save, or you don't have to pay tax on your first $70,000, which is, which I like. I could use that kind of money.
That'd be helpful to you.
Yeah. Now, of course, what's realistically going to happen...
It might even encourage single people to get married. I don't know.
Okay, well, I hear the Republicans are in favor of that, theoretically. Okay, so if you want to take $159 billion out of the defense budget to spend on the wars, because it is the defense budget, I believe that's what we're supposed to spend it on, but you're going to run into an enormous set of problems from the people who get that $159 billion in defense contracts, who then pay their local congressmen and senators. How do you deal with that giant problem?
Well, I think if we're looking to placate the defense industry, I don't think that we're ever going to be able to make any progress in this area at all. I mean, the military-industrial complex is at a chokehold on the foreign policy of this country in the same way that Wall Street is at a chokehold on our economic policy, and big oil has at a chokehold on our energy policy. And the question is, are we going to change that or not? What this bill does is it points toward real change, the change that people thought they were going to get when they voted for change in 2008, which is a change in priorities. That's what this bill accomplishes. Mm-hmm. Now, the same thing would be true, for instance, if we were to take economic policy away from Wall Street. And we didn't design our bailouts just for the benefit of huge banks, but rather to help ordinary people who, need the help.
So we've got a couple minutes left. I wanted to ask you about what you're doing on Monday, and then come back with another question about the bill. What's a peace party? What is that?
Well, we recognize, first of all, that we're going to soon be voting on yet another $33 billion, which is unfunded, by the way. We're basically using the Chinese credit card. Another $33 billion for a war supplemental appropriation to further fund the war between July and the end of the fiscal year. And we're going to be voting on that next week. I wanted to both raise consciousness and raise funds for our campaign by having an online peace party. And it's at our website, congressmanwithguts.com. So, for instance, one thing that we've done is we invited people who are known to be anti-war, almost famous for it, people like the documentarian Robert Greenwald, the director Oliver Stone. We've invited these people to contribute videos to the event to show that these people, like ordinary human beings, understand the power of peace, the importance that we change the priorities in this country. So, as we've done in the past from time to time with our money bombs, we're going to be having an online fundraising event, but this one is devoted to a cause, and that cause is peace.
Fair enough. Under a minute left now. Real quick, would you have fired General McChrystal? Do you think that was the right move?
I called for General McChrystal to be fired last October, and I did it on MSNBC. And I really appreciate the fact that the president agrees with me. I'm just wondering what took him so long.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Congressman Grayson from Florida, thanks for joining us on the Young Turks.
Yes, and I hope that your listeners will find their way to our website, congressmanwithguts.com, and help us to participate between now and Monday with our peace party.
Also available at handsomecongressman.com.
All right, young
If your picture says so.